What should you do now? Well, I think above and beyond taking an athlete's mindset and adopting this kind of paradigm, I would encourage you guys to be competitive athletes. And if you don't think that's possible for you, I'm going to show you a couple of options here. You could be a weightlifter, snatch and clean and jerk. This is me a year and a half ago. So look, trust me, if I could do it, I mean, really, if my gym teacher could see me now, trust me when I tell you. Do you know, you can be a strongman competitor. Phil Stevens is coming up right after me. He's one of our coaches. We're going to show you guys how to flip tires and pull trucks. You can do this stuff. It's fun. You can be a novice. You can be a guy. You can be a girl. You can be a master's. I'm showing you sports and sports disciplines that anyone can do regardless of skill level, regardless of gender, regardless of age. Okay? You could do Highlands Games. You could bodybuild. You could be a fitness competitor. You could be if you're into kettlebell lifting, how many people lift kettlebells? They don't realize it's an actual organized sport. You could be a kettlebell lifter. You could be a power lifter. You could, swimming has organized masters records and rankings and events. You can compete in open meets. Work for Dara Torres, right? 41 years old, silver medalist in Beijing. Track and field has an amazingly well-developed program for masters athletes, for women. There's records, there's rankings. I'll tell you a great story that John will appreciate. My very first track meet of my entire life, I was 32 years old. I had picked up the discus, and I'm at a track meet, an open meet in Santa Barbara, California. And in my flight, and I can't remember the guy, but he was a Nigerian. He was number 2 in the world. And he's out there doing 185-foot standing throws. And I'm like, oh, man, this is bad, But anyway, I did it. I actually medaled at Masters Nationals one year. But, there's rankings, there's records, there's the whole thing. You can actually go to open meets with high-level competitors, and you're right in there with them. Age records, the whole thing. There's so many martial arts related things you can do. I actually practiced fencing for a while. I have a 20-year martial arts background. I've done a lot of this kind of stuff. But you can do fencing. If you're an MMA fan, maybe you don't want to, have your eyes gouged out or whatever, but you could do jiu-jitsu. You could do judo. Right? You may not realize, this is an Olympic sport, not jiu-jitsu, judo is, but you can do this as somebody who's over 40, over 50, you can be a beginner. You can do kendo. You have to love kendo because it's like this sport where you train your whole life just to cut somebody in half. There's no other moves. It's just cut them in half. You don't stab them, you don't slice them, you just cut them in half. You work your whole life to get that perfect. Do you know that in martial arts competitions, you can go into breaking competitions? You don't have to fight, you don't have to do forms, you can just break stuff. How cool is that? What's not to love? You could be a cyclist, and there's distance cycling, there's track cycling, there's so many different levels to this. Kayaking and canoeing, there's all sorts of different types of competitive climbing. Competitive lumberjack, it is an organized sport. Lumberjack, like cutting trees down and stuff. You must see that on ESPN, right? All right, I'm stretching a little. Ballroom dancing. It is an organized competitive sport. Here's the good one, man. Do you know that dodgeball is an organized sport around the world? Isn't that awesome? By the way, one of my most anguished memories of being an adolescent involved middle school dodgeball, and I can still remember these two guys. These are from 6th grade. There's 2 guys, the only 2 guys I remember from 6th grade, these brothers, Doug and Dale Ryan. And you ever see guys, or some of you guys that are like this, you ever see guys that if you brush into them by accident, it hurts? That's what these guys were like, right? And I just remember totally hitting the shins, triple somersault before you fall down, but I'm glad I did it. Now either they don't allow dodgeball in school or you have to use a Nerf ball. Take all the fun out of it. You know, table tennis, it's an Olympic sport. Badminton, it is an Olympic sport, right? Tennis, there are organized adult tennis leagues, softball, basketball, you know, elephant polo. All right, I'm stretching a little with elephant polo, but look, it's an organized sport. You can golf, all right? And look, if that doesn't suit your kind of testosterone-ish ideal of sport, you could do long drive. How many people know that long drive is a separate sport away from golf? I mean, you basically take the fun part of golf and get rid of all the other stuff and just hit balls like as far as you possibly can. That's pretty cool. All right? You could be a distance runner. Now look, I purposely tried to find the most you know, humiliating possible picture. Don't do this, but it's still better than being an exerciser. You know, inline skating, there's all sorts of different venues and events. And you know, there's ultimate frisbee. I mean, look at all this stuff you can do. Do you know that tug of war is an organized sport? I don't have any problem with that. I find it as legitimate as a lot of things out there. I think it's pretty cool. You know, volleyball, bowling, you know, okay. But look, prior to Tiger Woods, right, golf was kind of not a sport you would pay attention. Maybe you have a guilty passion for bowling and you could be the guy who changes, you know, the sport like Tiger Woods changed golf. Who knows? Luge, bobsled. If you don't have snow, street luge. Right? You know, look, archery. It's an Olympic sport. If you're more violent than that, you can do shooting. That's also an Olympic sport. Curling. I don't get it myself, but it's an Olympic sport. Double Dutch jump roping. What's not to love? And look at, man, they're athletes. Pain of discipline. I don't know what the rest of it says, but I noticed that after I found this slide. They're into it. Okay? Juggling is an organized sport. There are world juggling championships. They make money. I don't know. All right, now we're stretching a little. I don't even know what this is. All right. Then there's this sport where they throw like a piece of cheese down the hill and you all go chasing it. I forget what it is, in England or something, you know. Now, forgive me for this, but when I looked up unusual sports, this came up. I don't really know what that is. Okay, and then... Anyway, but then apparently there's some sport which is like to see how big of a punch you can take. It's not for me personally, but you know. Hey man, if you're a vegetarian, you could be a bullfighter. So here's the best one. You could be, and this is pretty cool, a competitive eater. All right? But check it out. This guy, Takeru Kobayashi, you guys have probably seen him on TV, right? This guy wins all the events, like 42 hot dogs in 8 minutes and stuff. But check it out. Here is my ending point here, and then we can open this up for questions. If you don't believe that having an athletic mindset is a better way to get a better physique than being an exerciser, look at the abs on the dude. Thank you, guys.